Hey everyone, it's Rachel here, Oracle Spiritual Healer and Teacher. And if this is your first time to this channel, welcome. I am an Oracle. I do spiritual healing, which can include anything from sort of answering people's questions to working through karma, ancestral trauma, bringing through people's gifts, energetic initiations. Really depends on where people are. But part of my purpose is to help people self realize, come into their fullest potential. So I'm also been an artist my whole life. I teach yoga, I do sound healing. Um, so many things. So today we're going to look at the full moon for the month of May. And I wrote some things down about this. So this is an interesting full moon. And not that, I mean, they're all sort of interesting, but this one's interesting in that it's the peak of the full moon, which is on May 12th at 12:55 p.m. Eastern time. The moon's going to be in Sidereal Libra. And if you don't know what sidereal is, it translates to real star time. So it's the actual position of the constellation and not sort of Earth's position to the sun in relationship to the constellations, but it's the actual position of the constellation in the sky, which sidereal and tropical or Western astrology can be off, right? They're not always the same. So in sidereal, it starts off in Libra, and then the very next day, it moves into Scorpio. And so when I was looking into this, both those energies were coming up. So, so if you look at it, I put this down. If you look at this on your star app, if you have an app on your phone that helps you understand the stars in astrology, you'll see the constellations almost overlapping at a corner. So the full moon starting in Libra and going into Scorpio is like a moment of balance. It's like a little Zen moment, right? Before things get shaken up. So Libra being a sign of balance, of peacekeeping or peacemaking, we're going to experience that for a moment. And how long you experience this for yourself really depends on where you are in your life. It might be, a moment in time. It might be the whole day. Not that it has to be on Monday, but you can start to feel the effects of the full moon leading up to the peak of the moon. Let's see what else. So with the moon being in Libra, it's going to give us this moment of clarity. It's like, oh, that's it, or this is how I feel, or this is the way forward, or oh, that actually doesn't matter. Again, it depends on where you are in your life, what's present for you, what's alive for you, and getting clarity on that before Scorpio energy comes in. So Scorpio will reflect the need for change. So remember, the stars are not affecting us, they're mirroring to us what's happening here, right? As above, so below. So it's reflecting the need for change we're all feeling. I don't think there's a single person that exists right now that doesn't think something needs to change drastically or that something's not working. So because Scorpio is a sign of deep transformational change, we will see the stirrings of this. Okay, so with this full moon and days after it, there'll be sort of the shakeup of things. And again, it's not that everything's going to sort of shift overnight, but there'll be these moments where you'll see, maybe in your personal life, but I would say look at the news because this is sort of a bigger picture energy that's taking place. So I see this happening through people's emotions. So people sort of speaking out about what they care about or how they think or how they feel. That coming out. And then this is going to lead to more action towards change. So I think it was in the new moon, or it may have been in the monthly forecast I did where I talked about this. People being more outspoken. Actually, it was in both. People being more outspoken this month, not feeling afraid to just speak up, telling their truth, saying their truth. And so the more people who do that, it actually gives us all permission to do that. And then therefore we're all more likely to live in our truth, to speak our truth, and then act from our truth. So Uranus is also in play during this full moon. Um, and what they're showing me is like things taking a sudden shift. So Uranus is inventive, it's rebellious. Um, it does things sort of, kind of like your own way. And so excuse me, the rebellious nature will come out, especially for those who have Uranus in your natal chart. It could be expressed as pushing or going against what is expected of you, or the norm, whatever that norm is in your life. This is going to add fuel to the fire of Scorpio, the change and transformation. So people like um, speaking out or doing something different, or going their own way. This is all sort of going to add, how they put it to me, it's like the fire of Scorpio. So Scorpio also represents magic or the shamanic healing. Um, so things being deeply cleared or released from systems. You can think of this as your biological system, but I want you to also think of this as our collective body. So our collective body, it's what we've been holding in our cells, our DNA, sometimes from our ancestors, that needs to be acknowledged and cleared out. So remember, so much of what we see taking place on the world stage has to do with our collective karma, and it's circling back around again. And so when it circles back around, when our karma comes back, because it's an imprint in our energy field. And if you think about, so individually, it would be in our aura, collectively, it's, so you can think of it almost like a collective aura. It's sort of like that. But it's not quite the same. But think about it as an imprint. We all carry it individually, those that have experienced this sort of thing over multiple lifetimes. And what I mean by that is experience someone trying to overpower, dominate, manipulate, control. It could be servitude, slavery, basically any sort of thing where you lose your power. You lose your power, you give it over to somebody else. And there's a person or a small group of people that are in charge and have all the power, all the say, where they're sort of thriving, even though they're not happy. They're thriving in ways because they're getting whatever they want. And then everyone else is sort of suffering. So some souls have gone through a lot of that, other souls not as much. But so if we have gone through it, and depending on how sort of intense it is, the deeper the imprint it'll be in our individual aura. Yeah, which then sort of makes up the collective aura. So, um, so this is coming back around for us to clear up. So this time around, we have a real opportunity to clear up so much for ourselves and future generations, and to make things better than they were before. So instead of falling into the same karmic pattern, which is, yeah, you can be a king or a queen, and yeah, you can just decide to sort of break down and change everything. I'll just lose my job and go into poverty, sort of thing. And I'll just live with that. That's that would be repeating the cycle. So not standing up for ourselves. So the other thing they were showing me about this full moon is more light coming in. They put it as more illumination. A light shining on our darkness. Think of it like the fire purging, the fire burning away the impurities. The impurities being people, right? People who are serving, self-serving, people who are destroying, destructive. Um, the impurities also being situations, relationships, etc., etc. As the fire burns away the impurities, we are left with the truth. So it's like the fire is burning it all away so it can be uncovered. So more truths, information will continue to be uncovered that way. It's not like all of a sudden they just pop up. It's like something has to happen for us to get down to the truth, right? Because Scorpio is that probing, intense energy. Um, so after the probing, after the fire burning, we will then have more truth to work with, more information that's correct that we can then move forward with. The fire will enable more light in. So less lies, less deception, less cover ups. Um, and this is something that we just won't be able to get away with. Especially with people in power, it's just not going to work anymore because this is part of us changing our collective karma, where you've sort of turned a blind eye, or like, again, feeling powerless. Well, they're lying to us and they're stealing from us, but there's nothing we can do. Or if we try, we'll just die. Like we go into battle, but they have more resources than us. How are we going to ever win? That sort of thing. As we see this fire destroying, for the truth to be revealed collectively, we'll have the sense like, and this is collectively, yeah, we can do this, right? That we, this isn't bigger than us, right? We can manage the tasks, the things we know we have to do to move forward. We can handle the road that lies ahead. So this is, again, moving out of the victimhood, moving out of the energy of, oh, well, this is happening to me. There's nothing I can do. Take my job away, take my land away, take my money away, and I'll just sort of live in poverty, right? With nothing available. Shifting from that old karmic pattern into, nope, I'm not going to let this happen. Nope, I'm going to take my power back. Nope, that's not going to work for me. So the empowerment, that's what's coming. That's what I see. And again, if you're someone who sort of has that trauma that's really present, and you might not be aware. Sometimes we're not aware of our trauma. Sometimes we're not aware that we fall into the pattern of being a victim. But if you are someone who has that, the first thing to do is to acknowledge it's there. Acknowledge how it makes you feel. After you acknowledge how it makes you feel, how do we keep from sort of falling back into that pattern? Well, you have to take action. This is how we change any karma, any karmic pattern. We have to take different action than we have before in the past. So with victims, people who feel like they're victims, the pattern is, once the thing has happened to them, and it doesn't matter what it is, it's sort of the reliving of the story over and over. Finding things to reinforce the narrative, right? And sort of, part of it can be constantly talking about it, or sort of it constantly being the driving force in your life. Well, I was evicted or something like that. That's just an example. I was evicted from my home, and, they took me out of my home. They kicked me out of my home. I have nowhere to go. I've been out of my home for a year, that sort of thing. As opposed to, I got kicked out of my house. Why did I get kicked out of my house? What do I need to do to make sure that doesn't happen again? Right? What do I need to do to make sure I'm in the house that I like to be in, that maybe I can afford, or maybe where I feel at home and comfortable, right? So, really taking a look at why did it happen in the first place and making decisions, taking action so that that same pattern doesn't repeat itself. And again, that's what we're doing collectively right now. All these things are happening, and the US is sort of um it's like learning the lesson for a lot of people, a lot of other countries. Um you can think about that, especially in regards to politics and government and governing people and people's relationship to the government and what's not working and what could work and what needs to change and what shouldn't change. The US is sort of setting the example of, "Ooh, let's not do that." So, um, what was I saying? So, to fix that karma, you got to make the different decisions. So that's what we're seeing happening collectively. And again, this is going to show up differently in each country. We're going to all learn our lessons differently. We're all going to have different challenges. No country, no place is perfect. There's change that needs to happen everywhere. So I'm going to pick a few cards around this. I'm picking my shamanic deck. I also call this my Sedona deck, but it's an artist in Sedona, and this she calls it a shamanic deck. Let me see. Well, she calls it the tools for transformation. So maybe I just call it the shamanic deck. It's one of my shamanic decks. So let's see what else they want to say about this full moon and the energy and what we need to know collectively at this time. The self-esteem card has to, okay, so I want you to think of this as, what do I deserve? Respect, right? And this again has to do with victim versus being an empowered person. So if you have low self-esteem, you're more likely to fall into the victim. Oh, I don't deserve. I'm not good enough. That sort of thing. And that's what we want to make sure that we're not falling into, because that's when people overtake us, overpower us, and our freedoms get taken away. So that's really important to remember. What else? Rhythm. Let me see what that's about. Oh, okay, they're saying this is all being restructured. The rhythm is how they're putting it as our sort of flow of everyday life. Um, sort of the flow of everyday life, and I'll just use America as an example because that's easiest because that's where I live. You sort of have the routine of life, and that routine of our lives have sort of been in place for many decades now. It hasn't quite changed. We get up, we go to work, we get off work at a same specific time, like the 9 to 5. Go home, dinner, you know, something, bed. Or it's different for like in Italy where there's like siesta, for example. So our rhythm of life is going to be changing, and that's part of what's happening, what's taking place. So instead of this rhythm we've come to know for generations continuing, it's going to get restructured where it makes more sense for humans, for families, for actually living a healthy, balanced life. So our rhythms are coming up. And again, it's just being touched on, but we haven't talked about this before. So that's something new that's coming in. Oh, there's our truth card. More truth coming up. Okay, they're saying there's still more what they want me to pick or draw. strength. This is what we need to do. We need to be strong during all this, not sort of give up or fold. Self-mastery. This has to do with, if you're angry, processing those emotions. If you're getting frustrated, whatever it is, it's not letting it come out. Something that's been happening is the protesting that's been all very peaceful. I think something recently some people got arrested for. But this is, again, self-mastery, us sort of lashing out in sort of these um, angry ways, or maybe violent or violent speech is not going to help shift things in the direction they need to go. And so this is a little bit about that Zen moment with a Libra. Finding that clarity within has to do with that self-mastery too. This is how I need to show up to this. This sort of being what's the right word? How Michelle Obama put it, go high when they go low. And that's sort of the self-mastery. I'm going to understand my own triggers, how I would maybe act when I'm upset. And instead of going there, I'm going to really hold my center through this, that stability from within. One more card from this deck, and then I'll try to switch to the other deck, which is lighter. And then breakthrough. I think we got this for the new moon, or maybe it was the month forecast. I don't remember. But that's at hand. There's some breakthroughs that are at hand. I would say they have the potential of happening, which is true, but it feels like they're going to happen. So they're very likely to happen. Okay, what else? Courage goes along with the strength. We must have courage to stand up for what we believe in. Gratitude. And this has to do with all the beauty in your life, your family, your friends, what's available to you, the opportunities you have, people taking care of you, all of that. Be grateful for all those beautiful things you have in your life. Acknowledge them. That'll help keep you from going to that victim energy too. Knowledge, more knowledge that goes with the truth. This is inner knowledge, and also, again, with the truth. This is the moment of clarity as well. Okay, one more. And there we go. New beginnings. That's what it's all about. So we can build something new and better. Can have a sort of like a fresh start. Yeah. This came up again for me. I don't remember. Could have been the new moon. It could have been last month. I don't remember. But the time running up for some of what's happening for people, for some of these situations, like circumstances that exist right now. Some of that being broken down, so something new can come through in these smaller ways. So again, it's a process. Little things, the cracks, the fissures start, the movement, the shifts, small then big, small then big. So just keep the faith, center yourself, be grateful for all that you have. Use your voice, take action in the ways that resonate and align with you. And we'll get through all of this. And again, it's leading towards something better than what we have now. So I'll leave you with that. If you have not subscribed yet, please consider doing so. Liking this video helps as well. And it definitely helps me, and I deeply appreciate it. So I'll see you all soon. Thanks.